Hey everyone, John here, and today I'm going to be starting a series showing you guys how to create a Space Invaders type game in Stencyl. So the first thing you want to do is create a new game using the blank game setting. Hit next. I'm just going to name it Invaders, and 640 by 480 is perfect. Alright, the next thing you're going to want to do is I will leave a link to, in the description, I'll leave a link to a resource pack, sort of like a just a folder that has a bunch of resources we're gonna need. So it'll be a zip folder like this. You right click it, extract all, and then extract it to a location you'll be able to find it. Now I have mine here, so I'm going to keep it on my desktop. That's perfect. Then I'm going to open Stencyl up, and the first thing I am going to do, so now that you have our blank game, we're going to go into actor types and create a new actor. We're going to call it ship because we need a ship for our character. So create, and then click in the center here to create a new animation. And we're going to name this animation, I'm going to name it flying. Looping is good. And then we're going to hit import frames. And then make sure you set scale to 1x. And then choose image. And then desktop. Scroll and find it. Right here, assets, CC2 game assets, ship flying. We'll open that up. It'll be a sprite sheet like that. And then what we want to do is set columns. So this is what's called a sprite sheet. It's a sheet that has an animation on it. And so sprite sheets are really useful. And we want to, Stencyl can automatically split it into different images so we can have an animation. So set columns to 4. And that has already perfectly divided it into 4 images. So hit add, and you'll see now we have this cool animation. You see right there, it just looks right like that. And then we're going to go into the physics settings. Normal's fine here. Can rotate? No. And is not affected by gravity. We want it to not be affected by gravity because it's a space game. There's no gravity. The next thing is we're going to go into properties and set the group to players. That's perfect. And now what we're going to do is we're going to click on our settings here. We're going to go into groups. And we are going to hit create new to create a new group. We're going to name it enemies. That's perfect. Create. And we want our enemies to collide. Well, first we're going to actually, first let's make a new group. Let's make another group. And we're going to call this lasers. Hit create. So we want the lasers to collide with enemies. And we want our enemies to collide with lasers automatically and players. Hit OK, and that's good to go. We're just doing some pre-setup so we can make it easier on ourselves later. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our dashboard, create another actor. We're going to create the enemy. So we're going to hit create. And then appearance, so we're going to create an animation. Click here to add frame. Choose image. The alien grabber is perfect. Oh, see, I forgot. You have to set it to 1x so it's not super tiny. So I'm going to set it to 1x and then choose image again. Perfect. And hit add. And I'll just name this, don't really have to name it anything. I'm just going to name it idle. And then that's perfect. So we're going to go into the physics settings and set its physics up. It cannot be pushed. It cannot rotate. And it is not affected by gravity. Oh yeah, so if you set it to normal, then no. Then because once you set it to cannot be pushed, you can't change gravity settings. So you have to have it on normal, change the gravity setting, then hit cannot be pushed. Alright. The next thing we're going to go is go into properties and make it an enemy like we made it earlier. And then we're going to make one last actor type, just one more. This is going to be our laser. So we're going to hit create, and then create an animation. Click your add frame, scale to 1x, choose image, and this player dual shot. Hit open. And just need to divide it into 3. Perfect. And I'm going to add. I'm just going to call that idle. That's fine. And then you see we have a nice laser animation here. And then, once more, physics settings. Normal. Cannot rotate. Is not affected by gravity. And then properties, group, lasers. Alright, that's perfect. That's all the actors that we need for now. Make sure to save. Always good to save. And then go to backgrounds. We're going to make a background now. So you might have noticed in that folder that we had a stars background. So we're going to add that. So we're going to create a background. Call it stars. Create. And then I'm going to click add frame. Again, scale 1x. Choose image. Space background. The space background is perfect. See, that's perfect. That's a nice spacey background. Add. And then, now what we're going to do is we want to set the, let's see, we're going to set the scroll speed so it'll sort of look like we're going up in space. So I'm going to set vertical scroll speed up, or down, so vertical scroll speed down to probably about 5 is probably good, and hit repeat background, yes. Alright, so that's perfect. You don't have to mess with the parallax settings. So now, if we go to dashboard, scenes, create a new scene, call it our level. That's perfect, because we're just going to make it a background, hit create. Then we're going to hit the little plus down here to make a new layer. It's going to be a background layer with our stars background. Put it, and then drag it down below. Perfect. Or you could also use these arrows to move it to the bottom. So that'll be perfect. Hit save. Oh, looks like it didn't save the animation. So that's fine. If it doesn't save the animation, just hit remove. Click here at add frame, 1x, choose image, and then the space background. Perfect. And I'll save that. Oh, that's just a glitch. Alright. So that's perfect. If you hit test game, then it should work perfectly with our scrolling, so it'll look nice and it'll scroll nicely. Perfect. That's exactly what we want. So that is completely perfect. Alright, next up we are going to set up the sounds. So go to dashboard, sounds, click here to create one. And the first one we're going to make is the, let's see, the first one we're going to make is the explosion sound effect. So explosion, and create. We're going to import MP3, and then there's this explosion sound. You hit open that. That's perfect. And that is perfect. You can play it. Yep, there it is. Sometimes the sound player doesn't work, but it did work there. And we want it to be a sound effect, so that's all perfect. Then again, dashboard, only one more. We're going to call it background music. Background music, create. We're going to set this one to type music, import MP3, and then there's this file called general shooter spacey level. Hit open. That's perfect, and it's just nice background music. Alright, I'm going to save again, then keep going. Alright, so now, what we're going to do is we are going to add our ship to the level. So we're going to go back to our level, actors, and then click on our ship to grab it. You see we have this. I'm going to make sure I have it on the pencil tool. Then I'm going to toggle the grid so I can see the grid, and I'm going to toggle snap to grid in the magnet so I can place it in the exact center. It is not really an exact center, so I'm just going to turn off the magnet snap. But let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Right about center, right. Let's see. Right about there is the center. So I'm going to just click to set that there. I can turn off the grid, go back to the mouse. So perfect, now I have my spaceship on the level. And then I'm going to add some enemies. So I'm going to click on the grid again, magnet, click on the enemy. It should automatically set to pen tool. I'm just going to put one there, one there, one there. You can make whatever pattern you want, but just going to delete this one. I misplaced it. So if you misplace it, go to the mouse tool, click it, and hit the delete key. Usually, there we go. If it doesn't work, try it a few more times. Sometimes they place on top of each other, so I'm going to go back to my pencil tool and just keep placing. Perfect, that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So back to the mouse tool, turn off the grid, turn off snap. Alright, that's good. So now there's a nice basic scene. So we're going to add the background music to the scene. So go into the events of your level, add event, basics when creating. It's perfect, and like I said, I always like to rename my stuff, so I'm just going to call this music. Apply changes, perfect. So now it's the music event. So then I'm going to go into sounds, then grab out this play sound, put it in there, and then play, choose sound, background music. Play background music, perfect. That's exactly what I want. Alright, next up is we're going to start doing some actual coding. We're going to make our ship move. That sounds like a good idea. So I'm going to go into the ship, go to events, add event, basics when updating. Because remember, when updating runs at every fraction of a second. And I'm going to rename this event movement because I like to have everything nice and organized. Apply changes. Perfect. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to drag an if statement into when updating. And then I'm going to click on this arrow here. Go into user input and then get this control is down. So if control, choose control. So first I'm going to say if right is down. Then I'm going to go to actors, motion, set the X speed. So we're going to create a variable to help us keep track of our speed. So if you go to the attributes tab here, create an attribute. I'm going to call it ship speed. Type, we want the type to be a type number. Alright, so ship speed type number. Okay? Now we have this here. So now I'm going to just drag that into there. So set X speed to ship speed. Alright, and then I'm going to go back to flow and say otherwise if, sort of the same thing. I'm just going to go down to the arrow. User input, control is down. This time though, I'm going to do left. So if left is down, actors, motion, then I'm going to set X speed to negative ship speed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click this arrow, math. I'm going to get this negate. So I'm going to negate. I'm going to go to attributes, ship speed. So negate ship speed. Because if it's going right, that's positive ship speed, and left is negative ship speed. So that's perfect. And then I'm going to do another thing. I'm going to go into flow. One more otherwise if. That's it. So first thing I'm going to do is going to click on the arrow, comparison, and grab an and. The second thing I'm going to do is in each of those little boxes, I'm going to do the same thing, except put in a not. So otherwise if, not, and not. And then I'm going to go into the drop down, user input, control is down, same thing on this one, drop down, user input, control is down. So if not right is down and not left is down, then I want to go to actors, motion, and I'm going to set the X speed to 0. So if not going right and not going left, then don't go anywhere. That should be perfect. So we're going to hit test game to test it. Alright, so if yours didn't work, there's something important that I forgot. We gotta set the ship speed, so we're gonna go to the attributes tab down here. And then set default value for ship speed to about 20 or so. Then if you test it, it should work. Alright, that is perfect. That's exactly what I want, so it's perfect. Alright. Now, there is one thing important though. We did not make it so that you cannot go off the screen, so that's what we're gonna do next. I'm gonna make sure that you can't go off the screen. Alright, so we're going to create a new updating event, so add event basics when updating. We're going to rename this to stay on screen. Apply. Alright, so I'm going to go back to the palette here, flow. I'm going to do an if statement and an otherwise if. So now, and then I'm going to go into, so first I'm going to drag a less than into the if and a greater than into the otherwise if. So that's perfect. So if blank less than blank, otherwise if blank greater than blank. So I'm going to go to actor, position. So I'm going to grab this. So if x of self, I want it to be x on screen. So if x on screen of self is less than, all right, and then what I'm going to do is we're going to do some math. So go into numbers and text, grab out this minus, put it in the second box, and then go to actors, and it should be in properties. All right, yep, it's in properties, but if you don't know where it is, you can just search. So we're going to search width. So then we have width of actor, so that'll go in the second box if x on screen of self is less than blank minus width of self. And we're going to grab this, which is also nicely showed up, screen width. So if x on screen of self is less than screen width minus width of self, then that's perfect. All right, so the reason we're doing this is because where the ship is on the screen is measured by its upper left-hand corner. So if it's on the right side of the if it's going off the right side of the screen, if we did it just by if x on screen itself is less than screen width, then it could still go off the screen, but it would only be able to go until the left edge is hitting the edge of the screen. So we want it to make it so that the right edge is hitting the edge of the screen. So that's why we're doing that. And then we're going to do pretty much the same thing on the other side. So otherwise if, and then you can just hold down Alt and then click and drag this into there. If x on screen of self is greater than, grab out the same thing, screen width minus width of self. That's perfect. And then I'm going to add one more thing in here. So I'm going to drag this minus out by grabbing it by the minus and pulling it out. And then I'm going to go into numbers and text and grab another minus out and then put this back into the first box. -1. So it's just so it stays inside by 1 pixel, 1 extra pixel. And that will be perfect. So now I'm going to hit test game to test and make sure that works. Something really stupid. I just forgot to put the code in here so that this actually works. Just checking doesn't actually do anything. All right, so going into actors, motion, actually position. I'm going to set the X to 1 for self in here. And then I'm going in here, I'm going to wait a minute. All right, I made a mistake. So this is this bottom part here is right, but this part, I can take that out. I don't need that. If it's just less than 1, then I can set it to 1. Otherwise, I can set it to, grab it by here, this big thing. That's perfect. All right, so that should work perfectly. So now I can hit test game. Now if I go to the left side of the screen, can't go off it. And if I go to the right side of the screen, I also can't go off it. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So I can close that out. That is perfect. And I think that is a good place to end this video. We have the motion done, and then in the next video we'll start adding the shooting lasers and such. Alright, so thanks for tuning in, and if you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe, and leave a comment letting me know what I should do next. Alright, see you guys.